Rita Barber. Are you ready? Are you ready? Rita Barber.
Thank you. Is this a perfect day for a conference or what? Right? I drove here from Santa Cruz and the colors were spectacular. Yellow trees, orange trees, brown trees. It was just a palette of color, and I'm ready. I'm ready for that kind of change. I remember another time when I was ready for a change. It was about 20 years ago. I had just moved to Seattle. Seattle is called, does anybody know what Seattle is called? The Emerald City, because of all the green. But when I moved there, I didn't see any green. I saw gray. Gray sky, gray creek, gray house, and I'm driving around in a gray Mazda. I was ready for a change. I was having one afternoon a very typical conversation with my mother. It was the same old, same old. Do you forgive me? Don't worry about it. It's all good. You see, my mother was apologizing to me again. She was apologizing to me because from the time I was an infant till I was a teen, I had suffered child abuse from my grandmother, a woman who I suspect was actually Hitler's younger sister lost. A few years before, I confronted my mom with the knowledge that she knew what had happened. And ever since then, she'd been apologizing and apologizing. I was over it, but she was apologizing over and over again. What happened in this instance that didn't normally happen was my 4-year-old son, Jeremy, was eavesdropping in the next room. Like most 4-year-old boys, Jeremy was happy and very mischievous. He was also a chatty kind of guy. Unlike most 4-year-olds, Jeremy, and still to this day, has zero temper to speak of. He'd be mad for maybe a moment or two over something, and then he'd be over it with the words, "Let's start the day all over again." My mother and I wrapped up our conversation, and it was time for Jeremy and I to go to the store. We get into the car, and we're driving along, and I'm looking at how dark gray everything is in Seattle. Just when I'm looking at it, it occurs to me, you know what this is like? It's like living in the first half of The Wizard of Oz. Just then, Jeremy, who was so quiet in the car, said, "Mommy, can I ask you a question?" "Sure, honey. What's your question?" "Mommy, is your grandmother dead?" "Yeah, honey, she died a few years ago." "Ooh, I wish she wasn't dead so that I could kill her." Oh, is right. I didn't expect that whatsoever. It scared me. My happy-go-lucky little boy talking like this, I'd never experienced anything like it before. And I thought, what do I say to him? What do I do? I wasn't sure what to do. I decided to pull the car over to the side of the road and look at Jeremy in the eyes. And I was praying. I need some words of wisdom to share with him. I said, "Jeremy, maybe all of this happened so that I could be a better mom." And he looked at me and he said, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah. And if this is what it takes for me to be the best mom I can be, I'm okay with it. So you be okay with it." And Jeremy had a typical Jeremy reaction. "Okay. Can we start the day all over again?" Absolutely. In that instant that I shared that with Jeremy, it was like for the first time in my life, my eyes opened up. In that instant, I realized that maybe there was a plan. Maybe I wasn't a victim, at least any longer. And almost as if the universe wanted me to know that what I thought to be the case was truly the case, after weeks of dark gray, all of a sudden the clouds literally parted. There was blue sky. The creek reflected the blue. The sunlight came streaming down. My whole world went from the first half of The Wizard of Oz to the second half in amazing color. Why would I share a story like this with you? Well, maybe somehow or another you've had abuse in your life, or maybe you know someone who has. Maybe it's time to look at that and think to yourself, am I still a victim? Well, we go through abuse, we certainly are. But once that door is closed, we have a choice that we can make. We can go from victim to victor. We can take the woe was me moments and turn them into living in the wow. We can change so much of what we're doing if we're just ready to say, these stumbling blocks will now become my stepping stones. When we decide that we're going to make that change, there's only one thing left to say. Are you ready? Are you ready to live in the now? Mr. Toastmaster.
Good.
Thank you.
So Rita, I can tell that you're new to Toastmasters. I think everyone in this room knows you better than I do. You are a driven person. I was looking at some of the things that you've accomplished in your life. Tell me, why the drive?
Why not?
Okay, I am the new guy on the block, but work with me.
We're here for a reason. We are definitely here for a reason. I promise you that. And if you're here for a reason, your mission needs to be finding out why you're here. If you know why you're here, make it happen. If you don't know why you're here, find out why you're here and then make it happen. So I guess I'm driven because I'm sometimes in the land of I know why I'm here, and sometimes in the land of still looking at self-discovery, and I need to get a lot accomplished. I don't think I'm going to make it to 150.
I like that. So in those moments, when you know what your purpose is, you're driving towards something, is it just a clear path and there's no obstacles in your way?
There are always obstacles, but obstacles are truly opportunities. Obstacles are a way for you to validate, am I really going the right direction with what I need to do? How do I overcome it at this particular moment? I share this all the time, and actually Toastmasters from this point of view is the ultimate learning lab. It really is. Because over and over again, things will happen that you just wish wouldn't happen. You just wish it wouldn't happen. But secretly, in disguise, those things are opportunities, and they're waiting for you to rise to the occasion and be the leader that you can be, to figure out what to do with it. And if you realize that Toastmasters is, in the micro world, what the big world is, then obstacles are not a problem.
I like that. Speaking of obstacles, do you care to share one of the greatest obstacles that you overcame and how you grew from that experience?
Well, in a nutshell, I was at USC just graduating, and we found out that my family was going to be homeless. And I had two brothers that are much, much younger than me. We're almost two generations of kids. We had been thrown out so many times as I grew up. I didn't want my little brothers to have that happen again. So I figured out how to buy a house. I was just out of college. I barely had my first career going. I had maybe 2 dimes to rub together, But where there's a will, there is a way, and that's not just a cute saying, but I figured out how to do it. I was able to buy a place. My brothers stayed there until they were fully grown young men themselves, and I would say I'm pretty proud of that.
That's incredibly inspirational, and I can tell that it comes from the heart. I can also tell that you are a person with a huge heart that cares a lot about other people. In the experiences that you've had since that time, have there been moments when you've had doubt? And if you have, how did you overcome it?
Yeah, it's so funny you would say that. When I was buying this first house, I was scared to death. Scared to death. I thought, what am I doing? What am I getting into? What's going to happen to my life? What am I doing? I was panicked, and I had a lot of self-doubt. Will I be able to make the payments? Will this be another failure that my little brothers are going to experience and that I'm going to experience? How is it going to be? And then a dear friend said, let's take it to the limit. Let's say that it all fails. What's going to happen? And I said, what's your point? Well, you're not going to drop dead. Your brothers are not going to drop dead. Everybody will still be alive. The world will continue to revolve. When he said that, it helped me a lot, because it was the beginning, I think, for me of realizing that, well, what's the worst thing that can happen? And then realizing that we should try no matter what. We should continue to try.
I appreciate that. In your career that you have now, does any part of it involve encouraging others? And if so, how so?
Yes. I am in a career transition myself. I was a career strategist for a long time, helping people change whatever it is that they were doing for a living into doing something entirely different. And first and foremost, you have to really believe in a person's dream. Once you believe in their dream, you can make that happen. On the flip side now, I'm starting to work with people on how to present themselves in a way that brings out their best self. And again, that's about believing in people. And I see we have the red card.
Listen, I don't know about you guys, but just in the last few minutes, I have gotten an awful lot of inspiration. If this is the only thing that I got from this conference, it would be worth it.
Oh.